Joining me today is Vaughn Marshall. Vaughn is a product leader at Broadcom's Mainframe Software Division, and you're responsible for app development process modernization. Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
Sure. So, as you said, I work at Broadcom in our Mainframe Software Division. I'm a product manager and primarily responsible for Endeavor, which is one of the market-leading SCMs for mainframe. Been around for 30, 40 years, and I'm responsible for managing the development of that software as well as the modernization. So that's basically what I do. I started in the industry as kind of a mainframer way back when. Then I went into consulting, mostly in the area of SCM and lifecycle management. Kind of found my way back to mainframe and ended up as the product manager for Endeavor. So that's me.
Very cool. So one of the things I want to talk about today is this study that you commissioned, but you must have a dual role if you know a lot about the study and you work on Endeavor. Tell me about that.
A dual role. Well, the study actually, the reason we commissioned it, I don't know if you're familiar with a site called Stack Overflow, probably. It's where a lot of developers congregate, and they have this really interesting survey that they do every year. So it's a survey of all the developers that work on or that work with the site. I think they usually have something like 100,000 respondents, and they ask them things about their careers. Which languages they use, which tools they use, what the ones they want to use, which ones they dread using. And you can imagine with 100,000 plus respondents, mainframe kind of gets drowned out. So we thought it would be really interesting to kind of figure out what is the mainframe perspective on those same topics, the tools, processes, things like that. So it was very interesting, but that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to learn a little bit more about mainframe developers in a similar way.
What were some of the things that you learned this year?
Okay, so let's see. One of my favorite stats that came out of it was that 93% of mainframe developers are highly satisfied with their careers. And I guess it's not really a surprise, to be honest. If you've talked to mainframers, they're really passionate. They love their platform. A lot of them love their jobs. I think it's probably one of the more, let's say, stable places to build a career. It's just a great community. So that's one of the stats that came out. It's probably not a surprise, but it was interesting nonetheless. Another one, and this one was probably more interesting in the sense that it kind of gives you a window to what we face in the world of app dev right now in mainframe. 16% of a mainframe developer's time is spent coding. So that to me is pretty small.
Yeah.
The question is, what are they doing the rest of the time?
A lot of meetings?
There might be meetings. I think there's when we talk about mainframe applications, they're mission critical applications for governments, banks, insurance companies, right? They're not the kind of application that can afford to fail. So they probably have a lot of processes in there, but there's something else lying in that number. I think there's still a lot of manual processes, a lot of setting things up. It's, not a ton of automation. There is automation, but I think in some spaces there's not, and especially with some of the new processes that we're having to adopt as part of our due diligence to bring code to prod. Things like scanning that's being mandated, security scanning. The automation isn't there, right? A lot of the tools that have evolved into these kind of dictates from compliance orgs, they don't run on mainframe, so it becomes challenging for mainframe application developers to have to fit into that, so they do manual things. So to me that number stood out. 16% of the time spent coding. You would think that they would want to spend more. So that's, I think, one of the things that we've been trying to look at. How do we improve that number?
Well, and you just highlighted some obstacles that they're facing in their roles. What are are those the most significant challenges, or are there other issues you think are out there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can think about. And I think some of this is going to be down to who you're talking to, right? In many cases, there's going to be, as I said, compliance requirements where people have to do things that they didn't have to do, where there's no automation in place, right? That's going to affect developers across the board. But I think more so, we are at a point in time where the old guard is retiring, right? So, many of the application developers that had the tribal knowledge in their head, they're taking their well-deserved retirement, and we have a new crop of developers coming into the world of mainframe, and they don't know where to start. So actually, this was another interesting one in the survey. I think it said it takes the average new developer 1 to 3 days to figure out where to make a change when they're being requested to make a change. So, understanding the code, trying to figure those types of things out, those are a type of barrier for especially new developers.
Do you think that, you've got this change from, we're just going to say old guard to new guard, but do you think that is going to accelerate modernization and innovation? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you have this kind of handover from, traditional mainframe developers to new developers, not only are you going to have people looking for innovative solutions, I'll say the word that we all must dread, the AI, right? I can see AI taking the role of a mentor, a virtual mentor or an artificial mentor, if you will, somebody you can ask questions to that can kind of analyze the code or have that big picture context. So that's one thing. But the other thing I think that's going to happen as you do this handover is the new people bring new processes and new innovations, right? I'm sure you're familiar with the Zoe project, right? One of the contributions from Broadcom to the Zoe project was actually born out of an innovation from our, what we call our associate software engineers. So that's our new guard of mainframe developers that we bring on from school, train up in mainframe. So what happened there is a number of the folks were trying to figure out how they could just automate their job. And that kind of led to the genesis of the Zoe CLI project that was contributed to Zoe. But that whole new blood brings new ideas.
Yeah.
I think it works both ways. You're going to have changes coming on as people try to figure out how to deal with the tribal knowledge retiring, and at the same time you're going to have changes going on because people are just going to naturally bring new ideas to the space and platform.
So with that, where do you see mainframe development going in 5 years, 10 years?
Wow, okay, that's a good one. So I wish I knew. No, I guarantee I'll be surprised.
Look into the crystal ball and tell me.
I think what you'll probably see is hopefully more mainframe software development becoming a little less niche. Okay, so for instance, if I think about people developing for cloud, right? Cloud is a remote compute platform that has its purposes, scales out very quickly and easily, and people have written with it and written to it, and they have certain development practices, but nobody really thinks about it like it's its own thing. Whereas mainframe traditionally has been this silo, right, with its own, tools, own practices, etc. And I think as we go forward in the future, that silo is going to disappear and mainframe will be just another remote compute platform. So I think you'll see more things like being able to virtualize and test environments or data on demand. More usage of the same tools that you would see used for cloud. Right? Things like VS Code, things like CLIs with Zoe, or APIs on the platform being driven and written to directly. So, yeah, I think basically in the next 5 to 10 years, I expect mainframe software development to look less niche and more like just regular software development.
What do you wish people knew about mainframe application development?
Okay. Well, I think kind of in the vein of what I was saying, I wish people knew that, mainframe isn't all that different. And in fact, if it's different in any one respect, it's different in the stability of your career. So like basically what I would say to, developers looking for where they're going to build their career, don't discount mainframe. It's an amazing place. The people are awesome. The community is awesome. The platform itself is cutting edge and continually changing. So, I would just say don't discount mainframe. I mean, you have an opportunity if you learn mainframe to stand out from the crowd, because you'll have a skill that, you don't just go buy your own mainframe and learn how to, do software development there. So in that sense, you have a skill that's unique and marketable, but also you have a great community of people you can work with and learn from, and the platform itself is continually evolving. So yeah, basically in a nutshell, don't discount mainframe.
Some of what you're saying, is about the mainframe will be just another broadly accessible platform that more people can utilize. It will be
I hope so, yes.
Less niche, I guess you could say.
Yes.
Is that some of the work and innovation that you're seeing happening now to get us there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, certainly we're doing that. I know our competitors are doing that as well. I think the industry knows that we need to do that. I think the developers themselves are asking us to do that. So yeah, absolutely. This is something, there's all sorts of different efforts. Some of it's out in the open, right? Zoe is a prime example. There's a project that we work on called Code for Z that has certain aspects that are open source. There's commercial offerings as well. But I think the theme is that, while we've kind of gone away, or at least I hope we've gone away from, mainframe's going to be gone, we got to get all of the workloads off mainframe, to realizing mainframe is a vital constituent of the data center and really pivoting to modernizing the processes and tools, right? I can get that a next gen developer maybe isn't an aficionado on 3270, that presents itself as a learning curve and maybe a barrier, but the more those things kind of disappear and mainframe looks like other platforms, I think the less and less you'll hear that, mainframe's a dated thing, or that it needs to go, or anything like that.
So what advice would you give to someone looking to grow to their next role in this space?
Okay, that's a good question. Network, obviously, probably the same advice I'd give to anybody, but I think mainframe is one of those. So maybe this stems from, having heard for so many years, mainframers having heard, it's going away or it's not going to be relevant. I'm glad that hasn't come to pass, but because of that, I feel like mainframers as a community are so much more willing to share their knowledge. They're very happy to share their knowledge. So anybody who wanted to grow their role, I would say reach out, participate, right? Come to conferences like GSE, come to conferences like Share, meet other mainframers, meet those mentors, do it while they're still around before they retire. That said, I know a number of folks in the mainframe community who have passed retirement and still go to these conferences because they're so passionate about the platform. But reach out to those mentors, learn as much as you can, as I think it pays dividends for a young person's career.
So speaking of young people, can you explain the mainframe to me if I were a kindergartner?
Okay. The old explain it like I'm 5. Okay. I would explain that it is a computer which is responsible for all of the really big companies' processing, right? Not, when the government, your bank, all of the processing that happens for these big organizations, they need a really big, really powerful computer, and that's what a mainframe is.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I was going to ask you, but why? Just to make it feel really on theme, but why?
But why? Yeah, it does sound like a 5-year-old.
Exactly. Well, before we go, do you have any new initiatives or future plans that you can share with us?
I guess without saying too much, I mean, we, if you're not familiar with our products, we now deliver them as a suite called the Broadcom Mainframe DevOps Suite. So what we're really working on is reimagining the experience of using that suite so that it's, comprehensive, seamless as you go from, dev to build to test, debugging, deploy, delivery. So that's what we're working on these days, really just, making that whole experience seamless.
Well, I think, going back to what are the developers doing the other 84% of the time,
Yes.
I think that helps to solve that.
Exactly.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for joining
Thank
me
you.
today. I enjoyed our chat.
Yes, likewise.